Hi, hello, how are you? I hope you are doing good. Uh, can you see my surroundings? Well, I am high up and the mountains far away are visible. How did I come here? I climbed up a ladder. See, this is the ladder. Now, the problem is that I'm not very comfortable with heights. I'm afraid of heights. I have to climb down this ladder, and I will be climbing down this ladder. I don't need anybody's help, but then I am not very comfortable. I am tightly gripping the railing and then climbing down. Why am I doing that? Because I am afraid of heights. So I climbed down. Oh, yes, finally I have done that. I have climbed down. I have climbed down this ladder. So, in spite of my fear of heights, I could climb down the ladder. So, the fear in my heart, I could manage, I could deal with that. But suppose this height which I just climbed down or climbed up, this height was say 10 times than what is here, then I would find it very difficult to manage, because then it would be beyond my capacity to deal with. Yes, beyond our capacities to deal with. If the height was too much, then I would be having an attack of anxiety. I would not know what to do, how to deal with that. I'll simply give up. I'll say that no, I'm not going to climb down this ladder. I'm not able to do that. Why I'm not able to do that? Because there is my fear, and my fear is so much that I have my legs, I have my hands, I have my physical movements, but still I am not able to do that, because my fear tells me that I am not able to do that, right? So don't you find it a little irrational? Yes, this is irrational, and that's when our fears become phobias. Phobia comes from the Greek word which simply means fear or horror. So different people have different sorts of fears. For example, my father is afraid of snakes, and then I said that I am afraid of heights, but then my wife is very comfortable climbing up and climbing down mountains, so she can do that easily, whereas I cannot do that. But I can use elevators, lifts, but my wife is afraid of that because she suffers from a fear of confined space. So there are different names to these fears, different names to these phobias. Some of the common phobias are, let me read out some of the common phobias. Some of the common phobias are, yes, it's acrophobia, fear of heights, which I have. Then aerophobia, fear of flying. Then arachnophobia, fear of spiders. Then astrophobia, fear of thunder and lightning. Then autophobia, fear of being alone. Then claustrophobia, fear of confined or crowded spaces. As I said, my wife, she hates using an elevator. She would prefer to use the steps because of this claustrophobia, fear of confined or crowded spaces. Then hemophobia, fear of blood. Then hydrophobia, fear of water. And ophidiophobia, fear of snakes. Yes, that is what my dad suffers from ophidiophobia, and the last one is zoophobia, fear of animals. Well, this is just a simple list. There are lots and lots of other phobias, but we are not going to talk about the different types of phobias. Rather, we are going to talk about what causes a phobia and how can we deal with that. Well, what causes a phobia? Maybe it is caused by a past experience, a childhood experience, or it could be from something that we are not easily able to identify. But then it is always related to an experience, an unpleasant experience which happened in our past. Now, how to deal with that? One of the best ways to deal with a phobia is to understand the cause of the phobia and then to expose ourselves to that cause in a systematic way. Suppose I am afraid of heights, then I should go for mountaineering. Yeah, so that would be a good way of dealing with that. Yeah, or maybe my wife who is afraid of confined spaces, then she should use elevators more and more, right? So the more we are exposed to the thing which gives us that irrational fear, then we will understand that in spite of doing that thing, in spite of being in that circumstance, nothing wrong happens to us, right? And then gradually in our head, it will go inside our head that phobias are irrational fears which cause anxiety, fears which hamper our normal life, hamper our day-to-day life, and cause hindrances in our day-to-day life, but which are not really something to be afraid of, because it's irrational, because the fear is not rational. What is rational fear? Suppose I have lighted a fire and now put my finger in that fire, then obviously I will burn my finger and there will be a lot of pain. So I will be afraid of putting my finger on the fire. So that is rational fear. But irrational fear will be nothing wrong will happen to me, but simply because something inside me tells me that no, you shouldn't do that. If you do that, then something wrong will happen to you. So that is irrational fear. Today we will talk about Deep Water by William Douglas. William Douglas, when he was a small boy, he wanted to learn swimming and went to the swimming pool, and then something happened to him. Well, what happened? Before we discuss that, let us watch this video.